infectious diseases, research, medicine, health. Welcome to Outbreak News Interviews. And now, broadcasting from the Outbreak News Skylar Studios in beautiful West Central Florida, here is your host, microbiologist and editor of OutbreakNewsToday.com, Robert Harriman.
Well, hey everybody, this is Robert, and welcome to Outbreak News Interviews. Now, a person on my Facebook page, Infectious Disease News, who frequently post anti-vaccine comments, links to certain posts, placed a link to an article from a website called Natural News. Now, the author, S.D. Wells, asked the question and gives his or her answer in a piece called "Which Has Killed More People, Measles or the Measles Vaccine?" Well, joining me now to look at this article is Paul Offit, MD. Dr. Offit is a pediatrician specializing in infectious diseases, and he's a renowned expert on vaccines. Dr. Offit, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay, well, let's start out with the author writes, "You've heard that the science is settled as far as vaccines go, and that they are 100% safe and effective." Okay, so to me, the science is overwhelming, and no one says that vaccines are 100% safe and effective. Dr. Offit, how do you respond to his statement?
Right. First of all, no vaccine is 100% effective. The best vaccines, the measles vaccine being one of them, is about in the mid 90% range effective, and it isn't absolutely safe. The measles-containing vaccine can cause 8 to 10 days after you receive it a rash with low-grade fever. In about 1 in 25,000 to 1 in 30,000 children, it can cause something called thrombocytopenia, which is a lowering of the platelet count that can cause sort of a transient appearance of so-called petechiae, which are broken blood vessels. It doesn't cause any permanent sequelae, but it is a consequence of the vaccine. But no vaccine is 100% effective. No vaccine is 100% safe. So I'm not sure why that statement was made.
Very good. Now, Wells goes on to write, quote, "One of the main reasons Americans are so terrified of the blight of infectious diseases is because nobody has been educated about the human immune system and the power of organic food." And then he says, "The human immune system is mighty capable of fighting off chickenpox, measles, influenza, mumps, smallpox, polio, and yes, even HPV." Dr. Offit, is the author suggesting that people would have been better off not to vaccinate against polio or smallpox back in the day?
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's saying that the immune system is capable of handling an infection so that it doesn't cause permanent harm or death. That's certainly not true. If you take smallpox, 500 million people in the world's history died from smallpox. We've eliminated smallpox from the face of the earth because of the vaccine. If you just focus on measles, before there was a measles vaccine, every year in this world, about 800,000 people would die of measles. In the United States, it would cause 3 to 4 million cases. It would cause about 48,000 hospitalizations and about 500 deaths. Now, because of the measles vaccine, we're down to 125,000 cases, or deaths rather, in the world from measles. And in the United States, the incidence of hospitalization and death has dramatically declined. In fact, in 2000, we eliminated measles from the United States. Measles has slightly come back, only because some parents are choosing not to give their children vaccines, in part because of moronic articles like the one you're talking about in Natural News.
Yeah. All right. The next thing he says is, "There's one question you must ask the next doctor or nurse you encounter as they are rubbing the alcohol-soaked cotton ball on your upper arm or of your child's. Which has killed more people, measles or the vaccine?" Then he puts some numbers out there, and that's what I really want you to focus on with this. "While no person has been reported to or by the CDC to have died from the measles from 2004 to 2015, more than 100 people have died from the vaccine, according to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System." What say you?
Right. So the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System was set up in the United States in 1988. If anybody believes that they have suffered a negative consequence from a vaccine, they can report. It's a one-page report to fill out. You send it in. It's sort of co-directed by the Food and Drug Administration and the CDC. But anybody can report anything. So it's a parent, a nurse, a personal injury lawyer, a doctor, anybody can report. There's no filtering out the initial report. Now, when deaths are reported, the CDC always investigates to see if there's another cause for the death, and invariably there always is. So how many people died last year from the measles vaccine? 0. How many people died the year before from the measles vaccine? 0. So I'm not sure what this person is talking about. If he's claiming that people died of measles, that it'd be interesting to know exactly what that mechanism is, because the measles vaccine doesn't kill. Measles kills. Measles vaccine doesn't kill.
Exactly. And if over the past decade, more than 100 people died from the vaccine, you would have to think there would be some massive outrage amongst everybody from pediatricians through parents through, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, the vaccine adverse events reporting system at its best is sort of a hypothesis generating mechanism. And so if, for example, you see a series of deaths caused by the measles vaccine, what the CDC does is investigate those deaths. And sometimes what happened is, people had a heart attack, or they had an arrhythmia, or they had a cerebral hemorrhage. I mean, something else that explained it. If the measles vaccine was causing deaths, the CDC would know about it and would investigate it, and that's why they have the VAERS system. But the VAERS system is not a hypothesis testing system. It's only a hypothesis generating system. And here the hypothesis was, could measles vaccine be associated with causing deaths? And the answer is no.
Very good. And let me go ahead and close out with this. I want you to respond to the title of this piece. This hyperbole, which has killed more people, measles or the measles vaccine. Go ahead and close out with that, Dr. Offit.
Well, it sort of appeals to the notion of conspiracy, that the federal government, that the medical establishment, that pharmaceutical companies are working in league against you and your child, and that they're not to be trusted. I mean, obviously, whole presidents get elected on this notion of conspiracy theory, but there is not a conspiracy. I mean, obviously, the people that make the decisions, like at the CDC or the American Academy of Pediatrics, to give vaccines, also give them to their own children. And so, if there's a conspiracy, they're not in on it.
Okay, very good. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Paul Offit, for your time and your expertise, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
You bet. If you are worried you have Lyme disease, or just like the outdoors, and want the peace of mind of knowing whether you have Lyme disease or not, there is a new Lyme screening test based on decades of research by Dr. Richard Marconi, a professor at VCU Medical Center. For more information, visit glymedx.com. That's glymedx.com, or email at info@glymedx.com.